Every time Game of the Year rolls around, it feels like it's a reminder to me that gamers don't play any video games for some reason, or even interact with videos about video games. Because every year it's the same thing, where gamers somehow haven't heard of half of the games on the list, and they haven't played any of the games on the list either. Because how are you going to tell me you don't know what Expedition 33 is? Or Kingdom Come Deliverance? That game wasn't as big as Expedition 33, but I still heard a lot about it earlier. And it's just like really frustrating to see people say that games shouldn't be nominated because of bullshit reasons, like because it's a turn-based RPG. Turn-based RPGs are like the most game. Those have been around forever. I really don't get the point. And some people are also hating on Donkey Kong Bonanza, which also doesn't make sense, but it's just the classic Nintendo hate. They probably haven't even seen gameplay of Donkey Kong Bonanza. It was a fun game. I personally don't think it was Game of the Year. Like, not even close. This year was too good for it to be Game of the Year. But it was still a really good game. My only issue with Donkey Kong Bonanza is like the very, very late game when you're doing completion. And that's made a little bit better by the DLC, but the grind for the Bonandium chips and the records, that was miserable. I absolutely hated that part. But the actual core game of Donkey Kong Bonanza was amazing. And me talking about this doesn't even come from a place of Expedition 33 being my game of the year, because it's probably going to win Game of the Year from everything I've heard about it. I still haven't played it yet. Neither have I played like most of the games on the list. All I've played on the list was Hollow Knight Silksong, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and like 2 minutes of Hades 2, because I quit out of it after playing a bunch of Hades 1, because I realized I should finish Hades 1 before I start playing Hades 2. So I can't really even comment on Hades 2, but Hades 1 is really good, so it's probably up there for Game of the Year. I'm not gonna argue that it's not. And this year had probably the most predictable list of all time, so it's really weird seeing people get mad about it. The only thing that like I didn't predict with this list was like maybe Donkey Kong Bonanza being on there, because I heard some love for some other games this year in Donkey Kong Bonanza. Even though it was really good, I just didn't think it was like Game of the Year worthy. But anyway, I just don't get the point of hating on games that you haven't played before because you want some other game to be nominated. I see this with Expedition 33, with it being somehow it should be disqualified because it's a turn-based RPG, as if they aren't one of the most, as if turn-based RPGs isn't like the most common genre ever. I was actually thinking about it. I'm not sure if it actually is the most common genre, but it feels like one of the oldest and most common, so I don't understand how being a turn-based RPG would disqualify you for Game of the Year. Personally, what I think is a lot more disqualifying is being a multiplayer shooter game like Arc Raiders, because that game isn't even going to be the same a year from now. I just don't think that multiplayer games should be nominated for Game of the Year, to be honest. Only if it's something like really special, but I haven't played Arc Raiders either. I couldn't say if it was really special or not, but it's funny to me to argue that like a very well-made single-player game should be disqualified for being the wrong genre, but a multiplayer shooter should be there instead. I just don't get the point. I also saw some people saying that they would want Dispatch to run for Game of the Year, and that's a little bit more understandable for me than wanting Arc Raiders to run for Game of the Year. But I played Dispatch and I really liked it. I just don't think that it was like a Game of the Year worthy game. There wasn't like that much gameplay. It was fun gameplay, but it wasn't that long. The story was also good, but also not that long. Like, the whole game is pretty short. And that's not to say that the game is bad. I really liked it. I just don't think it was on like the same level as the other games this year. Like Hollow Knight Silksong was like an incredible game, and it had like probably like 30 or 40 hours of content. So I I personally think that Silk Song should be Game of the Year, but Expedition 33 also looks really good. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because it's really been bothering me. I really can't take this every single year. Every single year, it's the same shit where people will just go out and hate on games because they're not the genre they like and they haven't played the game. Last year with Astrobot winning, people also said somehow that they didn't know what Astrobot was. And that was kind of crazy to me because when Astrobot released, I also saw a lot about that game. And people saying that it shouldn't win because it's a platformer. So, just like Expedition 33. Same shit every year. Whatever game is winning is the genre that shouldn't be allowed to run for Game of the Year. Also, that year, the argument being that exclusives shouldn't run for Game of the Year, that was ridiculous. I think I saw someone saying that for Bonanza this year. And if exclusives weren't allowed to run for Game of the Year, that'd just be stupid. Because, like, it being an exclusive doesn't change how good the game is. And it's like, what? So it has to be on everything? You want the game to be on mobile for it to be Game of the Year? Just because not everyone can play the game doesn't make it any less of a Game of the Year. Like, in 2023, I think, I wanted, probably, like, Tears of the Kingdom to be Game of the Year. I knew Baldur's Gate was gonna win. But, Tears of the Kingdom was really fun. And personally, I don't think that, it being an exclusive should bring it down. I just don't think so. And I think it would exclude some other games from being Game of the Year. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember that far back. I can't remember other exclusives that won. But I personally think that exclusives should be running for Game of the Year. And I just hate these excuses every single year to try to bring a game down. Anyway, I just think that Game of the Year should be the time when we're talking about what we loved this year instead of just trying to bring down the games that are in competition with ours. I personally feel like this is probably one of the best years for gaming ever. I haven't even played all the games on the list, but everything looks good. I want to play everything that was running for Game of the Year. And I played a lot of other games this year that I really liked that weren't running, because obviously they weren't. I played like a ton of demos this year from the Steam Next Fest. I had a lot of fun this year. And I just think it's just not very productive to just hate on everyone else over an award that doesn't really matter. It's like, does it really matter if your game wins Game of the Year? I don't think so. It's just like a title. It doesn't really do anything. All it does is bring more popularity to the game, but most of the games running are already pretty popular anyway. It's just for fun. So I don't get the point in hating on each other over something that's just supposed to be fun and a celebration of the year we just had. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Please subscribe to me if you liked what you heard. This is my first video. Well, it should have been my second one. I ended up making a different video before this, but I never posted it because it was about Pokemon Legends ZA. And by the time I actually got around to wanting to post it, it was kind of irrelevant because it was about the discussions being had. And by the time I was ready to post, the discussions weren't being had anymore. But I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed, because I really want to be able to do this more. See ya.